السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وأرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه وأدخلنا برحمتك في عبادك الصالحين آمين يا رب العالمين. أهلا وسهلا everybody to our Fiqh of Financial Transactions lecture. And as usual, we begin with our muraja'a or review. And الأسبوع الماضي we finished off the whole topic of al-Hajr. And let's just kind of recap. We said that there are two kinds of Hajr. And we said there's Hajr لحظ الغير, right? This is for the benefit of somebody else. تمام. So somebody owes money to somebody else, so we freeze his assets, okay, so that he can pay back his debts before he might lose all his wealth. And then last week we covered al-Hajr لحظ النفس, for the benefit of that person. Do you remember who those three people were that we mentioned, that we do Hajr for them? تفضل.
Young.
Yeah, صغير, okay, young boy. Safih, like the one who is like immature, foolish. نعم, جميل. The majnoon, the one who is غير عاقل, يعني he's insane. نعم. So those three people, we said that they're not, the Sharia doesn't see them qualified to deal with their wealth. Okay. Obviously for the صغير, what's wrong with the صغير? He hasn't reached bulugh, right? So he's not baligh, he's not mature, and the Sharia requires him to be baligh. The safih, what's wrong with the safih? The safih is someone who's like, he doesn't know how to deal with money, aslan, okay? He wastes it and he doesn't use it properly. He might even use it in something that is haram or illegal or harm somebody in the community. Well, majnoon, aslan, al-majnoon is insane. Yani he's not aqil, he doesn't know how to make proper decisions. He needs someone else's assistance. طيب, Jimmy, so those are the three people that the Sharia, and do we need a qadi for those guys? Does a qadi need to do that? Or it can be done without a qadi? Without a qadi, you don't need an actual judge to do that. طيب. What is required for the Hajr to be lifted? So those three people, so so they own wealth. Okay, the Saghir, he owns wealth, he has wealth. He has $1 million in his account. But we froze it, or we have a guardian over it, okay? When can that Hajr, okay, be lifted for the Saghir? So when he becomes baligh, okay, and also, yeah, he becomes Rashid. He becomes baligh and Rashid. Tamam? Rashid يعني becomes someone who is financially responsible. Tamam? And we said, how do we test if someone's Rashid? You know, we give him some money to go a few times, and we find out that he actually completes the mission. I told him to buy this, he does. Or sometimes he actually saves money, or so then we understand, oh, he's financially literate. Tamam. Basically, it's trying to get that person to be financially literate, knows how to deal with money. What about can a majnoon, is Hajr be lifted? طيب, Jamil. So as long as he's baligh and he's Rashid and the junoon is lifted, is it possible? It's possible. Yani someone maybe, I don't know, maybe he had a sihr or something on him. طيب, what are the signs of puberty? For the males. Naam, al-imna. So if the male ejaculates, and the same for the woman. طيب, what else? We said coarse hair in the pubic area, tamam, like thick hair, tamam. And then what was the other one? Naam. If none of those show up, okay, at least the Hanabila, they said that if he reaches the age of 15. From the hadith that we mentioned, right, Ibn Umar, we say khalas, those two signs don't show up, we go to the last option, which is 15 سنة, 15 years old. And the extra thing for the woman is what? Is al-hayd, right? Menstruation. Tamam? So those are all signs of bulugh. Who's allowed to be the guardian for the who becomes the guardian for the mahjur? The saghir who owns $1 million in his bank. Who becomes the guardian? So the awla, the first one who has the right is the father. Who else? Who goes next in line? Who? Before the grandfather. The father, okay, if the father's not there, the grandfather might take his place. But what if the father wrote in the wasiyah, right? An executor, they call him, the one who executes the wasiyah, right? Executor, they call him? Or type, okay. Executor is also the guy who. So yeah, the guy who executes the wasiyah, right? So he might have said, okay, if I pass away, I'm going to put Adib as my executor. He will execute my wasiyah, and he's the one responsible for the money of my child, tamam, for the and so on. And then after that, it would be the hakim, the judge. Jamil, I think that's all I want to cover. When is the guardian statement? Yeah, remember we talked about, okay, now we have a guardian over this child or majnoon or someone who's insane. And then this person now, the hajar is about to be removed, and there's a dispute between the guardian and the saghir who became baligh and rashid, or the safi who became like, what happened? Whose word do we take? So yeah, we said we have to look at it both ways. If the guardian was doing it for free, okay, then we're going to take his word in most of the things. Okay, in most of the things. If there's if he's accused of overspending, if he's accused of making a bad deal, we take his word because there's no maslahah for him. He's doing it for free. Tamam? But if he's being paid to be a guardian, to watch over the estate or whatever it is, okay, then he needs proof. We take and then the only time we don't accept even the volunteer's word is what? Is when he claims to have given it and to given the actual estate, and the actual owner of the estate, the saghir or the safi, who becomes now allowed to take it, he says, no, I didn't get it. So now we don't take his word, because now there's a maslahah for him, right? And طبعا when we say we take his word, this is in the absence of a bayyinah, right? You'll find this in all the chapters of fiqh. When there's a dispute, the qadi, if he has no bayyinah, or shahid, a witness, he has to figure out whose qawl he's going to accept. And sometimes, because we have some ahadith pointing towards whose qawl is stronger in this case. Tamam? طيب, Jamil, cool. Let's now go to our next chapter, which is al-wakala. When you hear the word wakala, what do you think of? Wakala. If you live in Muslim countries, wakala is like a dealership, right? If you say wakala, right, you see like a dealership. Huh? A proxy, okay. What else? This word wakala, wakil, naam? Yeah, like a representative, like an agent, tamam. They say al-wakala lughatan at-tafweed. Right? وَأُفَوِّضُ أَمْرِي إِلَى اللَّهِ يعني I leave my affairs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The ayah says, وَأُفَوِّضُ أَمْرِي إِلَى اللَّهِ يعني I leave my affairs. I trust, I put all my trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's related to tawakkul. At-tawakkul is to put your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So al-wakala is when you ask someone to do something on your behalf, basically. Okay? On your behalf. فلغة التفويض, they say شرعا, يعني technical definition in fiqh, they say استنابة جائز التصرف مثله فيما تدخله النيابة. طب استنابة يعني to delegate or appoint. You're appointing someone. So مثلا انت you want to go pick up a car, you say, okay, Adib, can I ask you to do it on my behalf? This is istinaba, right? You're delegating or appointing. جائز التصرف. The person who you're delegating has to be جائز التصرف. This phrase, we should know what that means. جائز التصرف, he's the hur, he's the mukallaf, and he's the rashid, right? Hur, mukallaf, rashid. جائز التصرف, someone who's allowed to dispense of his wealth, يعني to deal with money. Okay, جائز التصرف. So, نعم? Yeah, له ذمة مالية, يعني he's someone who is responsible financially. So they say here, جائز التصرف أي الحر المكلف الرشيد. Someone who's free. So a slave cannot be جائز التصرف. He's not allowed to spend on his behalf because he's owned aslan. So whatever he owns, it's somebody else's. مكلف, someone we said بالغ عاقل, right? Someone who's mature and he's not sane. and he's sane, عفوا. Mukallaf is he's mature and sane. Wa Rashid, we said financially able to deal with money. He's financially literate يعني. فhe says استنابة جائز التصرف يعني delegating, okay, the delegation of someone who's جائز التصرف, okay, we can say has legal right to deal with the money. مثله, someone else just like him who's also جائز التصرف. So I cannot ask someone who's not جائز التصرف to do something for me. Okay, so I can't go tell someone who's like a صغير جائز تصرف. No, he's not, right? He's not بالغ yet. He's not Rashid. So I can't go tell him to go pick up the car from the dealership. He can't be someone who will be. If something happens to the car, okay, he's not legally responsible because it was my fault. I should have known that he is not جائز التصرف. فيما تدخله النيابة. So in whatever delegation is allowed, not everything is allowed, right? Can you give me examples where delegation or appointing someone on your behalf is not allowed? Think, huh? تطليق, okay, yeah, okay. تطليق الزوجة. You cannot مثلا the وكيل of the girl, like the father, الولي عفوا. He cannot go tell like the neighbor to do it or something like that. He can't tell the girl to give her the ability to marry herself. Or مثلا you can't ask someone to go pray dhuhr for you. Like you can't delegate someone. Listen, man, I'm going to be busy today. Okay, I need you to pray dhuhr and asr for me. You can't do that, right? طبعا this is a huge مسألة about what are the things that you're allowed to do يعني توكيل in. We don't have time to go into because there's a lot of disagreement about what's allowed and what's not allowed in the ibadat aslan. Okay, there are things that 100% there's ijma' that you're not allowed to. Okay, like salah, you're not allowed to, right? But there are some things that are agreed upon. Okay, like what? Can you think of this thing that nobody disagreed upon?
You can't delegate somebody to do zakat.
Like zakah, sadaqah, those are things you're allowed to ask someone to go do it on your behalf. طبعا here أصلا أنتم when you want to pay your zakah, usually you have someone, okay, on your behalf, like an agent, the masjid. You give the money. You're actually, what you're doing? You're doing tawkeel here. The masjid becomes the wakil for you. Okay. طبعا we have two people. We have the muwakkil, the one who actually we can call him the principal. I think that's the word they use, principal or the delegator, right? The principal or the delegator. This is the muwakkil. يعني أنا have something that needs to be done, so I'm the muwakkil. The wakil is the one, the agent, who's going to do the actual task. تمام? You're going to be the wakil today, inshallah, okay? So the muwakkil and the wakil. تمام? So جميل. So that's now some of them include في الحياة, like during their life, as a restriction in the definition. Why they say في الحياة? They're trying to exclude something. They're trying to exclude al-wasiyya, right? They're trying to exclude al-wasiyya, right? Which is given, which is something that is distributed after life. Tamam? Al-wasiyya. If you write a wasiyya, right? What's a wasiyya? Naam? A will, right? So a wasiyya, a wasiyya cannot be distributed before the person dies, right? A wasiyya is something you write right now, okay? And when you are dead, then that gets executed. تمام. So that's why some of them say في الحياة. وطبعا there's يعني a lot of the ulama, they said there's إجماع, okay, on the allowance of wakala. And some of them use the ayah, or يعني in a lot of the chapters they use the ayah فَابْعَثُوا أَحَدَكُمْ بِوَرَقِكُمْ هَذِهِ إِلَى الْمَدِينَةِ. This is the verse in Surah Al-Kahf, right? The story of the people of the Kahf, the youth, right? When they wake up from their sleep after 300 years, right? What happens? They wake up and it's like they're hungry, right? So one of them, now wakkala, okay? He actually asked one of them, wakkala, okay, someone to go to the Medina, to the city, okay? Because remember, they were hiding, right? And they don't know what's happening right now. So one of them actually is delegated or appointed to go get food for them, right? Okay. فَابْعَثُوا أَحَدَكُمْ يعني send one of you بِوَرَقِكُمْ هَذِهِ يعني with this money إلى المدينة, yeah, so they can get some food for them. So that's, and also we have the hadith hadith Urwa al-Bariqi رضي الله عنه. This is a very interesting story في الصحيح, and this is in the Sahih Bukhari. أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وكله, the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم وكله يعني he what? he appointed or delegated him وكله في شراء شاة. The Prophet ﷺ actually asked him to go buy a sheep for him. في شراء شاة أو أضحية بدينار. So he gave him a dinar. He gave him a dinar. And he told him, go get me an udhiyah or a shat, right? A sheep. Okay? فاشترى به شاتين. MashaAllah. The Prophet ﷺ gave him a dinar, go buy me a sheep. So he actually goes and buys 2 sheep. MashaAllah. Good businessman. Okay? فاشترى به شاتين فباع إحداهما بدينار. He sold one of them for a dinar. Okay? وجاء النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بشاة ودينار. And then he went to the Prophet ﷺ with a dinar and a sheep. So the Prophet ﷺ gave him a dinar to go get a sheep. He came back with what? With a dinar and a sheep. MashaAllah. Okay? فدعا له بالبركة. So the Prophet ﷺ actually made dua for him for barakah. And it said that فكان لو باع ترابا لربح فيه. It said يعني this Sahabi يعني if he was to sell يعني turab, dirt, he would make money out of it. MashaAllah. So this is the dalil in the Sunnah that the Prophet ﷺ actually did that with that Sahabi. طيب, let's read. So he says here, فصل في الوكالة. Okay, so this is the chapter of al-wakala. Jamil. So we can say agency or delegation. طيب, وتصح الوكالة يعني وكالة is allowed. That's the ruling, the hukum right there. وتصح الوكالة بكل قول يدل على إذن. Okay, now he's telling you how it happens. So anything that you understand from wakala here. So if I tell you, go grab my car, I basically delegated you to go get it. Okay, or what else? Like anything that you share, anything that يدل على إذن, that you're giving permission. وقبولها بكل قول أو فعل دال عليه. And the acceptance that يعني I tell him, grab the car, and he says, okay, I'm going to go grab it. Or buy me this, and he says, okay, sure. Even if he doesn't have to say it, he can be like, okay, or it could be a text message, okay, I'll do it for you, tamam. So as long as there's someone asking, okay, and someone accepting. نعم, دال عليه. And then he says, وشرط كونهما جائزي التصرف. And the first condition they say for wakala to be jaiz or sahih, that وشرط كونهما جائزي التصرف, that both of them have to be جائز التصرف. Remember in the definition we said that the muwakkil, okay, the one who's delegating, the delegator, and the actual person who's doing the delegation or the actual task, the wakil, okay, they both have to be جائزي التصرف. What's جائز التصرف? Quickly. We said 3 things. He's hur, he's someone who's free. He's Rashid, he's someone who is financially literate, and he's he's mukallaf, baligh aqil, right? Mukallaf is baligh and aqil. Okay, mukallaf has both of those conditions together. Jamil, طيب. So they have to be both جائز التصرف. ومن له تصرف فيه في شيء فله توكل وتوكيل فيه. And he's saying here that ومن له تصرف في شيء, whoever is allowed to, يعني has authority over something, ownership over something, okay, فله توكل وتوكيل فيه. Okay, so if I'm allowed to buy or sell, then I'm allowed to delegate, or someone is allowed to delegate to me. That's what he's saying basically here. تمام. طيب, let's read. Bismillah. So we said definition, it refers to a contract where a principal or a delegator, a muwakkil, okay, I'm going to start using the word muwakkil, authorizes or appoints an agent, which is the wakil, to do a well-defined legal action on his behalf. It only applies to things in which it is allowed to do so, because there are things in which this type of contract will not be permitted. So a permitted example, Ahmed tells his friend Mahmoud to go and settle a debt on his behalf, or to sell his car on his behalf. This is jaiz. Okay, no problem. Okay, I tell Ahmed is jaiz al-tasarruf, no problem. Something that's not permitted, Ahmed tells his friend Mahmoud to pray dhuhr on his behalf. This is not allowed. Okay, this is ijma'. You're not allowed to do that. طيب. And then he says it is a valid form of contract as long as the muwakkil allows permission through some sort of statement. Yeah, and like I said, I say something. There are no specific words. There's nothing specific to be said. Just like al-bay', when we talked about the actual contract of bay', as long as it's cool. There's someone is showing that he's selling something, and the other one shows acceptance. Okay, then it's fine. it could be on a cell phone, it could be by ishara, by sign. And then says the wakil says or does something to show that he accepts. Yes, the wakil, the one who's accepting the task, okay, the delegation, he accepts it somehow. Both the muwakkil and the wakil are among those for whom it is allowed to dispose of wealth. Jaiz al-tasarruf. Okay, so both of them have to be jaiz al-tasarruf, the muwakkil and the wakil. Okay, so example, a child or an insane person cannot be a muwakkil or wakil because they are prevented from disposing of any type of wealth, whether their own or someone else's. Remember, they're mahjur. They're not supposed to deal with wealth. Okay, those who are not allowed to dispose of their own wealth, are automatically barred from disposing of other people's wealth. If you're not allowed to deal with your own wealth, then you're not allowed, obviously, to deal with somebody else's wealth. If someone is allowed to dispose of wealth, then he can play the role of muwakkil or wakil. Okay, so if you're jaiz al-tasarruf, you can be the muwakkil or the wakil. That's what he's saying here. وَمَنْ لَهُ تَصَرُّفٌ فِي شَيْءٍ فَلَهُ تَوَكُّلٌ وَتَوْكِيلٌ فِيهِ. The next thing he says, وَتَصِحُّ فِي كُلِّ حَقِّ آدَمِيٍّ. So this is allowed. وَتَصِحُّ في كل حق آدمي. يعني it's allowed, okay, in any right for a human being. There's exceptions. Okay, so he says وتصح في كل حق آدمي. Okay, that's a general statement, and then he makes exceptions. لا ظهار ولا لعان وأيمان وفي كل حق لله تدخله النيابة. Let's explain. So وتصح في كل حق آدمي. يعني you're allowed to do it in pretty much everything except these three. Okay, الظهار. What's الظهار? الظهار. What's الظهار? سورة المجادلة.
هو قسم قديم قبل الحرم.
نعم.
كان الرجل يقول لزوجته أنت علي كذلك أمه.
Yeah, and this is something منكرا من القول وزورا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, it says munkar min al-qawl, yani something that's evil, it's haram, okay, and it's zur, okay. What would happen is in Jahiliyyah, the man would say to his wife, you are like my mother's back. Yani it's basically the husband saying to his wife, you're haram to me.
In Jahiliyyah it was like
Practiced.
a divorce for him.
Yeah, na'am, ahsant. And then Sharia came, and the Surah al-Mujadala talks about it, okay. The whole first page, it discusses that and the kafara for it. طيب. So you're not allowed to do that. You can't do the aslan because it's aslan qawl, it's haram to do. You're not allowed to aslan to wakkil somebody else, right? To do something haram. لا ظهار ولا لعان. What's a li'an? طبعا we're going to talk about dhihar when we get to fiqh of families, right? Of fiqh al-usra. What's li'an?
Li'an is kind of supplication against animals or other creatures.
Li'an in the Sharia here. We haven't reached li'an yet. It's gonna come. Huh? In Surah An-Nur, okay? Yeah, no, like remember when in Surah An-Nur, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about, okay, وَالَّذِينَ يَرْمُونَ أَزْوَاجَهُم, okay, وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُمْ شُهَدَاء فَشَهَادَةُ أَحَدِهِمْ أَرْبَعُ شَهَادَاتٍ. So he will swear by Allah, okay, and then the other person وَيَدْرَأُ عَنْهَا الْعَذَابِ. The wife, the wife she can, if there's no evidence, obviously, right here, there's no evidence, there's no bayyin, there's nothing, she can push away that adab or that punishment, okay, by taking oaths. This is li'an, okay. وَالْخَامِسَةُ أَنَّ لَعْنَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ. Right? So he takes an oath that, the fifth oath is basically that if he's wrong, that the curse of Allah is on him. That's li'an. So you cannot appoint someone else to do it. You have to do it yourself. You cannot do wakala on that. And then the third one he says, وَالْأَيْمَانِ. Right? Yameen, an oath. You cannot, the oath, something related to your own, just like li'an, is related to your own saying. So you cannot wakil somebody else to do yameen. I can't go to Ayedi be like, hey man, can you go swear on my behalf to the neighbor? Okay, no, you take the yameen yourself. And then he says, وَتَصِحُ فِي كُلِّ حَقٍ آدَمِيٍّ. Okay, and then وَفِي كُلِّ حَقٍ لِلَّهِ. وَفِي كُلِّ حَقٍ لِلَّهِ تَدْخُلُهُ النِّيَابَةِ. And all the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that are allowed. We have proof for it. This is where I was telling you that there's a huge disagreement in the madhahib about what are the things that you can do niyaba in, right? So people will ask, are we allowed to read on behalf of someone? Are we allowed to, are you allowed to get someone to do Umrah for you, Hajj for you, right? So there are things that you're allowed to do and things that you are not allowed to do. Let's read. So he says here, it's valid for the following types. Generally, any type related to a human being, exceptions, dhihar, li'an, and oaths. We already talked about that. Meaning someone else cannot be appointed to do these things. Okay? Dhihar and li'an are issues related to marriage and dealt in more detail we're going to talk about inshallah later. Oath example, if someone says, I swear by Allah that I will do such and such by appointing so and so to get it done, this is not valid because a person cannot obligate someone else to do something through an oath. So it cannot be done through an oath. Oath obligations only apply to those who take the oath on themselves. Some of the rights, the huquq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, some of the rights related to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like Hajj, Umrah, distribution of Zakat, or general charity, and fulfilling vows, right? These are all allowed. So Hajj, like we talked in the chapter of Hajj, we talked about مثلا the one who is not, مثلا the woman who is not able to go. She doesn't have a mahram. We said she's allowed to what? To appoint someone. Tamam? Someone who is غير مستطيع, old person, cannot go, it's a danger for himself, but he's financially able, he can actually, wakkil somebody, he can appoint someone or delegate someone to do it on their behalf. A lot of you, your zakah, you're asking organizations to do it on your behalf. Fulfilling the vows, if you have a vow, another, right? If you have a vow, then yes, if you're not able to do it, you can ask someone to do it on your behalf as well. So, example one, someone appoints someone with $2,000 to give charity to the poor on his behalf. Is that allowed? It's allowed, we do that all the time. Example two, someone vowed to fast 3 days if he passes an exam and succeeds. However, he's unable to fast due to health issues. Tamam? Are you allowed to delegate to wakkil somebody? Yes, you are. You're allowed to do that. في الصيام طبعا I think the Shafi'i are very strict on this. The Shafi'i are very strict on this. The others are a bit, there's a whole spectrum. And some of them will allow someone to read Quran on their behalf. Someone will allow open door. They'll do qiyas analogy on the things. These are the things that the Hanabila find proof. If they find like a dalil or proof for it, then they will do it. And also, I think we talked about this in one of the chapters, that when someone passes away, if they have a nadhr, like any debt or nadhr should be done by the inheritors, if they're able to. And this is usually written in the wasiyah. Like in the wasiyah, when you're writing a wasiyah, you will write, مثلا, I have this much debt, when I owe Abu Muhammad this much, and I made a nadhr, I made an oath, and the nadhr has to be paid, because this is something that you owe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just like, مثلا, you were able to do Hajj, and you didn't do it because of your fault, negligence, then it should be done before the inheritance is even distributed. Tamam? So these are the things that are debt to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, should be paid off before the money is distributed. طيب, Jamil. Let's keep going. And then he says here, وهي شركة ومضاربة ومساقات ومزارعة ووديعة وجعالة عقود جائزة لكل فسخها. So what's he saying here? وهي يعني الوكالة. So he's saying the wakala. We're talking about wakala right now, right? So what the author is doing here is basically telling you everything that is jaiz. Do you remember we said when we talked about contracts, we said there's contracts that are jaiz, and we said there are contracts that are lazim. Contracts that are lazim, in Arabic, what do you understand from lazim? Naam? Yeah, like binding. It's binding. It's mandatory. Lazim, In Urdu you say lazim too, right? Lazim, yeah. So binding, طيب, something that is jaiz, it's not binding. What does it mean not binding? Meaning that sometimes one side or both sides can actually break the contract anytime. So when you make a sale, it's lazim. When you make a sale, it's lazim. Unless you have what? Unless you have some, what do we call it? We have unless what? Do you remember some of the exceptions of
like defects and other stuff?
Yeah, if there's like a defect, tamam. If there's a defect, or you agreed on a time to return, So we said those might be exceptions, but if you don't have those, then it's lazim. You can't just be like, okay, you know what, never mind, okay, I don't want this thing anymore. But these are all jaiz. So he's saying, so the wakala is jaiz. What does that mean? So the agency is jaiz. Somebody can say, hey man, you know what? Adib can be like, you know what? Now man, I got homework. I can't go pick up the car for you. Khalas. End of story. He doesn't have to. You find some aib or some reason. It's jaiz. So wa sharika as well. Partnership. Okay. Partnership. You can unless there's a stipulation. Okay. You can stop that anytime. Wa mudarabah. Right. It's another type of partnership. The sharika is coming up and mudarabah is coming up. But just so you understand, he's trying to tell you that all of these are jaiz. Okay. So al-wakala, agency, wa sharika, partnership, and mudarabah, it's another type of business basically where there's two partners. Okay. One of them has wealth. Okay. Has cash and he doesn't really want to work. And the other person's like, he's got time but no cash. So the guy who's got the capital, he says, here's 50,000. Okay. Go start this business. 50-50 profit. This is called mudarabah. Okay, it's a very common type of a business type. Musaqat, right? Musaqat, muzara'a. These have to deal with agriculture. Okay, like watering the trees and stuff like that, and muzara'a, plantation. Wadi'a, deposit. Okay, so when you deposit something with somebody, or you leave something, I'm going overseas. I'm just going to leave my car with you. Here's the car keys, here's the car. Wadi'a, okay. وَجُعَالَةٌ. Ju'ala is where you pay someone to do something. Okay. Ju'ala, this is one of the last chapters we'll cover. Is like, I tell you, can you do this for me and I'll pay you this much. Okay, this is called the ju'ala. Uqudun, so all these, okay, and ariya as well. See, he didn't include it, but some of the other authors included. Ariya, when you lend someone something, okay. They're all jaiz. Yani you can walk away from it anytime. You can walk away from it anytime. Jaizun likullin fasquha. Yani for any one of them, you can just break it. Okay. So, مثلا, if I say, hey man, I'm going to leave my car with you until December 1st. Okay. He agreed. Okay, cool. I leave the car. Then he's like, you know what, man? Too much pressure. I'm scared, man. Your car is too expensive. Khalas, that's it. As long as he says it's broken, it's broken. So I can't go after to the qadi and be like, look, man, he didn't take care of it. It got broken. So I can't blame him. So this is jaiz at-tasarruf. So he says here, wakala is jaiza type of contract. So the wakala is something that is jaiz, and meaning either party can back out whenever they want, thereby canceling the contract. We can divide contracts in three types. So we've said there's the lazim one. Neither party can back out without permission from the other party. Yeah. So the lazim contracts, if one of them says, okay, you know what, I'll let it go, no problem. Okay. But we're saying if both of them, if one of them does not want to break it, then they cannot break it. Jaiz, just like this one, wakala, either party can step out of the contract even without the permission. Okay. You don't need permission. The contract becomes cancelled if either of them steps out. And one that is dependent when it is lazim for one party and jaiz for the other. Yeah. Sometimes they'll agree that, you know what, I'm going to make the condition that for me, I might back out anytime. And the other person agrees, okay, sure, then that will be allowed as well. طيب, so these are the kinds of contracts. So all of these that were mentioned, these are all jaiz contracts. طيب. And then he says, وَلَا يَصِحُّ. Yeah. He says, وَلَا يَصِحُّ بِلَا إِذْنٍ بيع وكيل لنفسه. So now what's he going to talk about? He's going to talk about if I told Adib, okay, so he's the wakil, I'm the muwakkil, okay. So he says here, ولا يصح بلا إذن بيع وكيل لنفسه. What does that mean? The wakil, I tell him, man, go sell this Honda Civic I have, okay. It says here, he's not allowed to, and it's not accepted for him to sell the car to himself. Can you think why?
You can reduce the price.
Yeah, they talk about a-tuhma. Tuhma, yeah, conflict of interest. When you hear tuhma, he might be accused, okay, for fear of accusation, okay. So he's not allowed to do it illa bil-idhn. Okay, so if I tell him, man, can you sell me this Honda Civic for $4,000? I'm looking for $4,000, okay? And I'll give you $500, okay? If you sell it for me. This happens all the time, right? And he then goes, he's like, you know what, I like this one, here, Here's 4,000. He's not allowed to do that. Now you might say, well, what's the difference? 4,000, 4,000. Sometimes when you're, if I tell you sell it for me, I'm not going to tell you like I want exactly this price. I'll tell you, man, try to sell it as much as you can, but don't go below 3. If he sells it to himself, he's gonna what? He's gonna go at 3. He's not gonna try to, find a better price unless there's like a percentage linked to the sale. Tamam? And people do that. So ولا يصح بلا إذن بيع وكيل لنفسه, selling it to himself. ولا شراؤه منها لموكله. What does that mean? This is like the opposite scenario, right? So if I tell him, hey, Mr. Wakil, okay, Adib, I want you to go get me a Honda Civic, okay? And I'm thinking about between 3,000 to 5,000. I don't think there's a Civic these days for that much, but that's the old days, right? And then he has a Civic. He's like, okay, Allah, how much I said to him 3 to 5. If he sells it, if he buys his own Civic from me, he's gonna try to go low or high? High, right? He's gonna try to maximize how much he gets. So that's why they say that wouldn't be allowed unless there's permission from the wakil, from the muwakkil, from myself. Okay? ولا شراؤه منها لموكله, and he says وولده ووالده ومكاتبه كنفسه. So the child, the father, anybody from that kind of lineage, okay, it's almost like doing it for yourself because there's a benefit, there's a conflict of interest, okay. Even the mukatab, who's the mukatab? Huh? That's katib. Who's the mukatab? فَكَاتِبُوهُمْ إِنْ عَلِمْتُمْ فِيهِمْ خَيْرًا. Al-Kitab. So in Surah An-Nur, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about He says, فَكَاتِبُوهُمْ إِنْ عَلِمْتُمْ فِيهِمْ خَيْرًا وَأَنْكِحُوا الْأَيَامَ مِنْكُمْ وَالصَّالِحِينَ مِنْ عِبَادِكُمْ وَإِمَائِكُمْ. So the mukataba contract is basically when the slave buys himself out. Okay? There's an English word for it. I think I wrote it down here. So because the slave can buy himself out. So he'll go to his owner and he'll say, listen, I want to buy myself out. Like the owner allowed him to do some work, tamam, or he found a way to do it. And we know the hadith of Barira, right? Barira, where Aisha, it's a long hadith, yani. But you make a contract with him. So he also there's a conflict of interest for him as well. Okay, so you're not allowed to sell it to him or buy it from him as well. طيب, let's read. So the following are invalid to do without permission from the muwakkil, okay, from the delegator. The wakil sells the item to himself, right? We said there's conflict of interest. Example, Ahmed appoints Zayd to sell his car. Zayd takes it and sells it to himself. He cannot do this except with the permission from Ahmed first. Yeah, you gotta ask Ahmed. The wakil buys the item from his own property for the muwakkil, right? This is the example we gave. So example, Ahmed appoints Zayd to buy a car for him for 25,000. Zayd takes the money and sells his own car for that amount. He's like, you know what, I need to get rid of this car. Yalla. Can he do it? He can do it with the permission of the wakil. Okay, maybe the wakil is like, okay, sure, man. As long as I get my 25, no problem. Okay.
Even if they look at the market and they find the proper pricing, can they still do that?
And we said he can't do it because of he might be accused. Tamam. Just ask. Okay. And I asked you to do something for me because I trust you. Okay. So there's obviously a relationship. So you're gonna say, listen, man, you want me to buy a car? I have a car. Why don't you take this one? What do you think? How much would you give me? I'll give you 45, 43. Okay, khalas, agreed. Boom, done. Okay, so he skipped a whole step. Khalas, there's something in front. He wants to help his friend. The same thing. Yani, whether he's selling or buying for the.
The first one you said it's not allowed. I asked him to bring me a car and he bring me his car.
Yeah, so if I is أنا وكلت الأديب, okay, to buy me a car, then he can't go buy his own without my permission, because there's a benefit for him here. There's a conflict of interest.
He doesn't say this is the price and that's it. You should accept that price. He has to negotiate with him.
Look, in general, he can. If I tell him go buy me a car, he can, and I give him the exact, conditions, this kind of car or anything about this price or any year or whatever, and he goes gets it from anybody else, then it's jaiz, it's okay, it's accepted, except from himself. Why? Because here there's a conflict of interest. There's a chance of tuhma.
Like if we look at the market and we find the price is this, and I come to him saying, okay, the price of the car that you're looking for is this. I have this car.
Yeah. This is basically him asking permission. Exactly. When he says that, this is basically him asking permission, right? When he tells him, listen, I couldn't find anything, and actually I have one right now exactly what you want, or similar to what you want. What do you think? This is him, what? Asking permission. That's basically what it is. But a lot of times, if you tell someone, hey, just do this, nowadays, a lot of people they're like, hey, I found something. What do you think? I found something. What do you think? I found something. They're going back and forth. Back in the day, ma'andhum, what's up? It's not like they're going back. Maybe he's 4 hours away from him, or he's in another city, and he's like, I'll meet you in Hajj, or something like that. Ma fi waqt, I'll send you a letter, I'll send you this. He says, okay, this is what I want. So if he does it according to your conditions, it's jaiz, it's accepted, sahih, unless this condition. That's what they're saying. Okay, so there's no place for tuhma. Okay, nowadays you're gonna text your friend and be like, hey man, listen, I have this one. That's basically you asking permission. Is it wadah? You had a question?
How would it still be a wakala contract? This feels like just a transaction at this point. If the wakil is selling from his own.
Yeah, it will become a transaction. It will become like a transaction between you and him.
It's not a wakala contract, it's just a transaction.
Yeah, it'll become a transaction between both of you.
But if he didn't show it his own car, this is what's haram.
If he didn't, he can't. He has to let him know. He has to let him know. Because imagine, I tell you, and then I found out, oh my God, he did it for his own car. What's going to happen? The first thing, shaitan's going to bring, waswasa, oh my God, look, there must be a problem. The engine must have issues. Oh, he's trying to, go behind my back. Yeah. And aslan these days, if it's a car, he will know. There's a bill of sale, aslan. Tamam? But he might do it for his friend too. This is also a problem. Now they said al-walad wal-walid, but wallahu a'lam, I think some ulama will also include a friend. Will also include a friend, maybe if it's a close friend, he's trying to do a favor for him. Allahu a'lam, I don't know, maybe there's less blame. But anyways, these days everybody's going to tell him, listen, I found someone. What do you think? Khalas. Basically the shura is happening. The actual permission is happening. Fadl.
For the mukatab contract. So if you're saying it's wakala, it's not a wakala anymore. If the slave is bringing up his own health, I'm not sure.
Say it again. It's not a wakala if it's done with a mukatib.
Sorry, if in the wakil example, where the wakil is selling his own thing, but he asks for permission, so it's not a wakala contract anymore, it's a transaction.
Yeah, I guess it would become a transaction now.
Okay, with that example, for the mukatab, how does that apply? Because if it's just a normal transaction, then it should be fine. It's not
The mukatab basically, he's the mukatab has the contract with so he's saying you're not allowed to do it with the mukatab. You, the wakil, you're the wakil, right? I'm the muwakkil. Okay, I'm the one who asked you to sell me this car. Okay, you have a mukatab, you have a slave who is buying himself out. Okay, so there is a conflict of interest here. You might be helping him out, hooking him up, or you might decrease the price for him or increase the price for him because he's someone that you own. It's your property. It's almost like your child or your dad, or that's the conflict of interest they're talking about. So you might do a favor. You might go against the interest of the muwakkil. Yani naam.
What if a friend of a business is the wakil?
What if the friend of a business is the wakil?
Of a business owner.
Okay.
Let's say he's selling cars as well. This wakil says, hey, I know, to the muwakkil, he says, I know a guy. Wasn't this sort of a conflict of interest as well?
explain the situation. So
Muwakkil is looking for a car.
the muwakkil is the one who delegated the task, right? So the muwakkil is looking for a car. Okay.
Muwakkil is looking around and he finds out that his business owner, his friend
Mm-hmm.
runs a dealership.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have the exact car that they're looking for?
Yeah, so I said if you're doing it for a friend, that might also be included here. They didn't include here friend, okay? But wallahu a'lam, it could also, if the illah is the same, like if there is a chance of tuhma, of conflict of interest, or being accused of selling it for less because it's your friend, if it was somebody else, and that's why like the fuqaha will mention examples, but inta as a person reading, anything that falls in the same line, okay, right? Because the illah here, the key, the reason for this hukum is that there's a conflict of interest. For your best friend, are you gonna try to like squeeze money out of him or try to make it easy for him? You're gonna try to make it easy for him. So it's gonna go against the interest of the muwakkil. But if it was just some random guy, you're gonna try to please the muwakkil. Okay, you're not gonna try to please your friend. But this is where this is what they're talking about permission. If I was gonna sell it to my own family or my friend or anybody that there's a conflict of interest, okay, I'm gonna try. If I'm the agent, okay, anybody that I'm trying to help is gonna go against what the actual muwakkil. Tamam, it's gonna go against his interests. So that's why I have to ask him permission, and that's fair. And I think that makes sense to avoid any fights that might happen in the future.
Another side of that,
Mm.
when you go to friend, you are going for trust. So you trust your friend, he's gonna tell you what you think about the car, what you think.
Yeah, but أنت you trust your friend, but I don't trust your friend. يعني أنا the wakil, the muwakkil. I know. So I know what you're saying. إذا أنا وكلتك أنت, I trust you, and so if you trust your friend, I trust your friend as well, kind of. Yeah, but still, you need to ask permission. So there's no, I don't know your friend. But if we both know the friend, yeah, probably it's more likely that we'll be like, yeah, of course, yeah. We both know him, yeah, go ahead. Sell to Abdullah, ما في مشكلة. We both know Abdullah. We'll give you the car, inshallah. طيب, it says here, we're almost done, inshallah. وإن باع بدون ثمن مثل. So now he's saying, وإن باع, if he sells, the agent, the wakil, he goes and sells بدون ثمن مثل. يعني بدون يعني less, okay, not without. بدون مثل ثمن مثل. This is like below the market value. Like if I tell him, don't sell below 4,000, and he goes and sells for 3,500, what happens? Who bears the burden? What do you guys think? Huh? The wakil or the muwakkil? The wakil bears the burden. Why? Because I told him don't go below that price. Okay. So وإن باع بدون ثمن مثل أو اشترى بأكثر منه, the opposite. Okay. I told him go buy me a car, but don't spend more than 5. And he goes 10,000. But wallah, it's a good car. So I never told you, Habib. Okay. So he has to صح. Look what he says. The contract is صحيح. صح وضمن, and he is the one who, right? He pays the difference. وضمن زيادة أو نقصا. Okay, does that make sense? That mas'ala? Okay, so I told him to do something. He went and went against what I asked him. تفضل.
Let's say I have a wakil buying a car,
Mm-hmm. You have a wakil to buy your car. Mm-hmm.
and he spends more than what I asked him to spend.
Mm-hmm.
Is the wakala still on if he can go sell that car and bring me back the money, or that's it? I have to take the car and he has to pay the rest.
Does the wakala still count for him to to bring the money back? If he agrees, sure. But if he says, "Khalas, no, man, I'm gonna sell it. I'll give you the difference."
I wouldn't agree. Maybe I like the car and I want him to pay me as well. So
If you like the car, you're saying if he goes buys a car that's more expensive than what you asked him, صح? You asked him to buy a car for 10,000. He buys you a car for 15,000. Okay, we say here that صح. Okay, it's a legitimate contract, but he's supposed to pay the difference. Okay, now what will happen? Be like, hey man, look, I saw this really nice car. You wanted a Honda, but I found an Acura, and it's so much nicer. and it was like, below market price. What do you think? And you're like, you know what? I like it. ما في مشكلة. He doesn't have to pay that difference. Do you understand what I mean? But if you say, you know what, I didn't ask you, man. So you'll either say, go return it, and if the other guy accepts it, ما في مشكلة, he will not have to pay the extra. Or you will say, you know what, I never asked you for that. Okay, pay me the difference. I'll take the akra and you pay me the difference. واضح?
But in that case, can he go without asking for a second approval? Go sell it and bring you back the money and...
Yeah, if both of you agree, I don't see a problem with that.
No, without the agreement. Me agreeing. Because in that case, I am winning more money and a better car.
So you want him to do what? To go sell the car again?
Then does he need another permission to go sell that car
Mm.
and bring back the money so he doesn't lose the money?
I see. You want him to go sell the car, and
I don't want him.
does he have the right to do that?
Yes.
You're saying?
Yeah.
The wakala is I see what you're asking. نعم تفضل.
In the hadith example,
Mhm.
the Sahabi, he goes, spends,
I knew that was going to come because they talk about this. Yeah, تفضل. Mhm.
he spends the dinar, he buys the sheep, and then he does tijara on the side to make back the dinar and get a sheep as well. So what happens in the middle doesn't really matter as long as the muwakkil gets his what he asked.
Yeah, this is another big khilaf يعني between the fuqaha. If I remember, the Hanafis and the Malikis, they sided with on one side, and the other sided on one side, because what he's saying is that he didn't do exactly what the Prophet ﷺ asked him to do, but but he did more here. He did more, صح? So that's why the mas'ala is he allowed to do extra as long as he brings back what he's asked of him? Some of them say, yeah, sure, this is the dalil, it's wadih, the Prophet ﷺ approved, okay? And some said, no, you're not allowed to, you have to ask him permission. The hadith is pretty clear, right? As long as you're benefiting the person, who's going to say, no, I told you to bring me a sheep, why did you bring me a sheep and an extra dinar? Nobody's going to say that. Is there anybody who would say that? Nobody would say that. So it's for the benefit for that person. I don't see. But your question actually, does everybody understand his question? Is he allowed to?
It's not a question, and it's quite clear. If somebody did wakala for another party to do a certain job, he shouldn't exceed the job, right? Like if he to buy a car. Not
So he messed up and he got something that's more expensive. Is he allowed to go fix his mistake? Like, is this still part of the wakala? Is the wakala contract still there?
he should take permission.
But he says here صحة. So it's up to you. العقد جائز and صحيح. It's up to you. You the muwakkil. It's up to you. So you can tell him, hey, you know what? You know what? I don't want you to pay it out of your pocket. Why don't you go sell it back and go back and buy me the actual price? It's up to you, because you're the one here that you can say to him, no, I asked you to do this and you did it, and you over.
What he's saying is like always the muwakkil will try always going to go say, okay, I will take the car and you give me the difference. So this is the position of the muwakkil would be always, because
I will take the car and give you the difference.
he should give me the difference, even though
Who should pay the difference? The muwakkil?
The muwakkil asked the wakil to pay the difference in the price.
Yeah, this is what he's saying. The wakil is the one who made the mistake. The wakil is the one who went out to buy a car that's more expensive. So he has to bear the burden of the extra money.
Yes.
Now the muwakkil, the one who asked him to go buy the car, he has a choice here. He can pardon. He can be like, you know what, I don't mind. I don't mind the better car.
Always going to go for the second option, right? Always going to say, I will take the car and give me the difference, because it's on his side.
Not necessary.
Not always. If you're a good friend with him, right? But here, this is where, remember we talked about one of the ahdaf of the Sharia, the maqasid is to try to avoid al-khusum, like to fights and disagreements. So the Sharia is telling you that if both of you disagree, okay, then this is what the judge is gonna tell you. Okay, he's gonna tell you that it's up to the muwakkil to accept or not. You're gonna say always, no, that's not always the case. And if I have a friend of mine who does that, I might be like, you know what, man, I actually like the car, no problem. Okay, or I might be like, you know what, if you really can't afford to I didn't ask you for that. I don't have 15,000. I only had 10,000. Now you put it on a credit card. I can't pay the other 5. How about this? Instead of you paying the difference, why don't I'll give you another week, go resell the car, okay, and get me what I asked you for.
Okay, so he doesn't have the power to say, no, I will go and sell the car and give you your money back. Or
The aqd is jaiz. Okay, the transaction is jaiz, it's sahih. The muwakkil, the one who delegated, it's up to him. He is the one who's going to decide what's going to happen. Tamam?
so the other one,
The other guy, khalas, because he accepted the responsibility and it was his mistake. Tamam? طيب صح وضمن زيادة أو نقصا. Right? So it says here, if the wakil sells or buys something less or more than the market value, then it is valid, but he will be responsible for the difference, meaning he will pay the difference. Example 1, Ahmed tells Zayd to sell his car. Okay? Zayd sells it very much below the market price. In this case, Zayd is responsible to pay Ahmed the difference, right? Because, he just wanted to get it out of his head, right? Responsibility, and he went against what was asked of him. Example 2, Ahmed tells Zayd to buy a car for him. Zayd buys a car but pays a much higher price for it than what it's worth in the market. In this case, Zayd is responsible to pay Ahmed the difference to cover it, to the extra cost. Tamam? And we said here, Ahmed, the muwakkil, it's up to him. He can pardon him. He can be like, you know what? Yeah, that's fine. I'll let it go. Or he can be like, you know what? Go resell it and get me exactly what I asked you for, so you don't actually bear the cost. So it's up to the muwakkil. طيب. It says here, ووكيل مبيع يسلمه ولا يقبض ثمنه إلا بقرينة. It says here, like sometimes when you ask someone to do wakala, right? Sometimes you ask them to do a specific task, right? So you say, I just want you to go grab something, or I want you to go to pay for something. Then you should only do that, okay? So he says here, ووكيل مبيع يسلمه ولا يقبض ثمنه, right? Someone who is supposed to just مثلا distribute something or sell something, okay, or to give something, he just gives it without taking the money. مثلا, let's say it's an order, like these, like the Uber Eats and DoorDash and stuff. I'm just trying to think of a contemporary. They're wakils, right? They're wakils, and basically on the app the person pays, and they go, and what's their job? To pick up and deliver. So he's saying here, they're not allowed to go pick up, deliver, and also get money for it. Get money from the actual restaurant, because that's not part of his job. His job is what? His job is to pick up the money and to deliver it. Okay, so وَوَكِيلُ مَبِيعٍ يُسَلِّمُهُ, he just gives the actual item. وَلَا يَقْبِضُ ثَمَنَهُ إِلَّا بِقَرِينَ. إِلَّا بِقَرِينَ, and they say unless there's a reason for it, okay, or the person, the actual muwakkil tells him, then that's okay. وَيُسَلِّمُ وَكِيلُ الشِّرَاءِ الثَّمَنِ. And here, the one who is asked to buy something, he gives the actual money. Okay? وَوَكِيلُ خُصُومَةٍ لَا يَقْبِضُ. And if you have an agent, maybe like this could be like a lawyer, I guess. وَوَكِيلُ خُصُومَةٍ لَا يَقْبِضُ. Like someone who is going to dispute on your behalf. Okay? He's disputing over, I don't know, $10,000. Okay? I ask you to go and dispute on my behalf. You're not allowed to go dispute and actually grab the $10,000. Okay? If I only told you, go dispute on my behalf and this is what you're being paid for, then that's all you do. Okay? But then he says, وَقَبْضٍ يُخَاصِمْ. But if I ask you to go actually get my $10,000, then by definition it includes what? To go dispute on my behalf. Tamam? So if I tell you go dispute on my behalf, then it's not your responsibility to actually get the money. Your job is to dispute on my behalf, okay? But if I tell you I need my money, okay, then that includes what? You don't need extra permission to dispute on my behalf. That's what he's saying here, okay? So he says, وَوَكِيلُ خُصُومَةٍ لَا يَقْبِضُ وَقَبْضٍ يُخَاصِمْ, right? SubhanAllah, you'll notice if you ever read these short mutun, these texts, it's like they try to make it as short as possible, but there's like a million words that are missing, right? So they're actually very short, but like when you read it, you're like, okay, what's he talking about? Like you need an explanation for it. Unless you're like very, like it's the ulama wrote it for the beginners, but it's like you have to have a really dense language in fiqh and in the Arabic language. طيب. So let's go through it. He says here, if the wakil is only responsible for delivering the goods, then he has no right to receive the cash from the purchaser. Like someone might try to double dip here or something like that, right? Or maybe he didn't want him to pick up the money or to ask for money. And what if he just wanted him to deliver something, okay? And then it was a gift, I don't know. And then the guy's like, oh, where's the money? Like, and then you embarrass the guy, right? You asked him to deliver something to your mom, and then like you're like, okay, where's the money now? You embarrass the guy. So if he asks you to do something, just do that. So if the wakil is only responsible for delivering the goods, then he has no right to receive. What time is Isha? 10? Okay, khalas, inshallah we'll finish very soon. Then he has no right to receive the cash from the purchaser. Meaning there are cases where the wakil, the guy who's delivering the task, okay, is only responsible to deliver the commodity, but is not entrusted to receive the money for it. Yeah, maybe he doesn't trust him to grab money. Maybe he just trusts him to deliver. I don't trust you to deal with money, I just trust you to deliver. That's fine. Rather, the buyer will pay the muwakkil directly or some other method arranged between them. So example, Ahmed owns a restaurant and people can order online. Once an order is placed and payment made online, Ahmed sends a delivery guy to deliver the food, right? He doesn't go grab the money. Right. Exception here, which what he mentioned here, what if you have a reason? Right? This is the qarina. What if there's a reason? Meaning if it's a type of sale where the reception of cash is expected to be given to the seller. Obviously, yeah, if that's expected, ما في مشكلة. Like if he's doing the car sale, it's expected that he's going to grab the cash, no problem. So example, Ahmed tells Zayd to sell his car in the market. Zayd takes the car and sells it to a random stranger in the market. In this case, Zayd is expecting the money from the stranger before handing him the car keys because there is a possibility of fraud here. Obviously, right, like I don't have a connection with the one you're selling to because I told you sell it to anybody. Okay, but if it's someone specific or part of my company, they pay online, yeah, it's not your responsibility to go pick up the money. That's what they mean by qarina, right? If it's something that is known to be exchanged, okay, and you pick up the money, then you pick it up. Now it says, if the wakil is made responsible for a purchase through cash, then he delivers the cash and takes the goods. Okay, because this is what the custom, yeah, okay, we talked about that. Right. And then he mentions here, if the wakil is entrusted to settle a dispute, right? This is the one we mentioned last, okay? وَوَكِيلُ خُصُومَةٍ لَا يَقْبِض, okay? If the wakil is entrusted to settle a dispute, right? This is kind of like what lawyers do, right? And is only made responsible for making a claim on behalf of the muwakkil, right? His job is only to go dispute and make a claim. Then he does not receive the object of dispute, right? He's not supposed to go grab the actual item, whatever it is. Because he's only there to represent the claim of the muwakkil, okay? This is very similar to a lawyer. Example, Ahmed tells Zayd to go to court and present his case against a fraudulent seller that cheated him in a sale and took money from him in a deceptive manner. In this case, Zayd will only go to court to present the case of his client and will not receive the disputed money to give to Ahmed. This is because he was entrusted by Ahmed to only present his claim. However, if the muwakkil, like if Ahmed now gives permission to the wakil to go and obtain his right in the dispute, then this automatically authorizes the wakil to do both, which means to present the claim and to receive the object of dispute. Yani it's part of it, right? This is because the latter cannot be done without the former. طيب. Now the last part, and we'll finish here. He talks about وَالْوَكِيلُ أَمِينٌ, right? We talked about like yad amana. What does that mean? The wakil, his position, he's a trustee, someone who's trusted. Okay. Why is this important? Is because when the judge has no proof, if there's a dispute and there's no proof, then in many situations we'll take his qawl. Okay. If he's seen as an ameen, okay, then we will take his qawl if there's no. We'll take his claim if there is no proof. So he says, وَالْوَكِيلُ أَمِينٌ. Okay. لا يضمن, right? لا يضمن. If something happened, like if I told him go sell this car, okay, and then he says, listen, man, the car broke down while I was driving it to the buyer. Do we take his word and there's no other proof? We take his word. He's an ameen. Aslan, why is he an ameen? You wouldn't have asked him if you don't trust him. Does that make sense? Would you have asked him if you don't trust him? No. So that's why his position is ameen. So وَوَكِيلُ أَمِينٌ لَا يَضْمِنْ إِلَّا بِتَعَدٍ أَوْ تَفْرِيطٍ. We talked about this. تعَدٍ, يعني if he transgressed, if he did something, he was speeding, or he, I don't know, he's driving intoxicated, or he's driving without a license and there's a ticket, yeah, it's his problem, okay? Or negligence, right? Tafriq, negligence from him, then he will pay for that damage or whatever it is. ويقبل قوله في يعني قول الوكيل, يعني the qawl of the wakil, his claim is accepted in نفيهما, denying both of them, okay? And denying يعني if he transgressed or if there was negligence, وهلاك بيمينه, and even if there's some damage, okay, with his yameen. طبعا what happens in court, like if you come and there's a dispute between the muwakkil and the wakil, the judge will ask for shaheed, give me an evidence, okay? Both of them be like, we got no evidence. Okay, so now the qadi he has nothing to deal with except what? With claim. And then the claim will have a yameen. So here in these cases, we will take the yameen, the qawl of the wakil, because he's a trustee, he's an ameen, right? With a yameen. Tamam? Except, and the same thing we talked about when we talked about the guardian, right? We said there's a guardian that's paid and there's a guardian that it's mutabarra, right? He's volunteer. So similar situation here. If he's volunteering to do this, okay, but if he's being paid for this, then no. Okay? If he's getting paid, then we don't take his word first. Why? Because there's a conflict of interest here. There's a benefit for him. Okay? So what he says here, كدعوى متبرع رد العين أو ثمنها لموكل لا لورثته إلا ببينة. Yeah, so here he says, in both cases, if he's a mutabarra', if he's volunteering or he's paid, the only time we don't take his word, okay, is if he says, I gave it to the inheritors. What does that mean? يعني, he was supposed to give this to Abdullah. Okay, I told him, give this to Abdullah. La samah Allah, something happened to Abdullah, he passes away. Okay, then they go to the judge. Okay, the inheritors are like, hey, where's dad was supposed to get this much money from you. We go to the judge, and then the wakil says, I gave it. Okay, in this case, we don't believe him, even if he's mutabarra'. Okay, because he was supposed to give it to Abdullah passes away. So here he needs a bayyina. If he says, I gave it, they never received it, he needs a proof. That's what he's saying in here. So that's inshallah the last thing we're going to read. So the volunteer wakil is generally considered trustworthy. He's ameen, okay? Therefore, he's not responsible for any loss unless he was negligent or transgressed. If the muwakkil claims without evidence that the volunteer wakil was negligent or transgressed, however the latter denies it, then it is the volunteer wakil's claim that will be accepted as a general rule, right? We take if he's a volunteer, we take his word because he's a trusted person, okay? In this case, the volunteer wakil will be asked to take an oath denying the allegation of the muwakkil, right? He's ameen, and so he gets the right to say, to make the claim and make the ameen, okay? He takes the ameen, he takes an oath, Wallahi, I did not do this, and that's between him and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Example, we accept the claim of a volunteer wakil that he returned an item or its price to the muwakkil, okay? However, it will not be accepted if the volunteer wakil claims that he returned an item or its price to an inheritor of the muwakkil without evidence. This is what we're talking about. Like if he says, I gave it to the inheritors, he was supposed to give it to the person, right? The person who passes away, and he claims I gave it to the inheritors, we will not accept it, even if he's a volunteer. So if he's a volunteer, we're not going to accept it, and if he's paid by ju'ala, we will not accept it as well, because the contract was between the wakil and the muwakkil, and not the latter's inheritors. So the example here, Ahmad claims that he returned the money that Zayd, who is now dead, had given him to buy a car on his behalf to the latter's son. This will not be accepted unless he brings evidence that he gave the money to Zayd's son. And the last thing, if the wakil is not a volunteer but rather is paid for the job, then his claim is not accepted in any case, as we mentioned, and he must bring evidence to support his claim because there's a conflict of interest. And that takes us to the end of Bab al-Wakala. Our next Bab, inshallah, is sharika, partnership, right? We're going to talk about partnerships, inshallah, next week, and the different kinds of partnerships. Let's take like maybe one or two questions, and then it's time we can pray Isha, inshallah, early. Any questions about wakala? تفضل.
هل الوكالة تسقط؟
تسقط. يعني is it if someone dies? No, we just said now, we give the example. So يعني You mean like, so if someone is responsible to do something and he يعني the wakil dies, you're talking about. If the wakil dies, does the contract, or if the muwakkil dies? If the muwakkil dies, is the contract broken? Allahu a'lam. Not sure. I'm not sure.
Could be part like wasiyah.
It will, يعني this haqq will go to the inheritors, but does it break? Allahu a'lam. I'm not sure. I can look it up inshallah. And yeah.
Wouldn't you have to go, the wakil would have to go to the executor of the will and settle it?
I guess it will depend if there's a wasiyah, right? If in his wasiyah he mentioned this, which most people will not have mentioned it, then I don't know. Allahu a'lam. Like if I asked you to go, deposit this money, $10,000, okay? I asked you to do it. أنا وكلتك, okay? And then I pass away, the muwakkil passes away, okay? So is the contract still valid? Like does he still have to deliver it?
Why it's not valid?
I said Allah alam, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Is it still valid or not valid? Allah alam, I'm not sure. If it's in the wasiyah, obviously he will write, okay, I have this, I will have this money is supposed to be deposited, I gave it to fulan, no problem, the contract will still be valid, okay? But here,
I don't think the contract
will be invalidated by the death of the muwakkil.
let's say if you are doing work with somebody and if he died, the contract is still there.
No, some contracts are broken with this.
Yeah, if there's a shart if there's a condition in the contract, yeah, but
Like marriage is a contract, right?
Mhm.
If somebody dies, contract is broken.
Yeah, but in the transaction.
inshallah I can look it up inshallah and get you an answer. It's a good question. يلا جزاكم الله خير والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.